What's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Black Steaks, pal. So it was leg day, and let's get straight into it. Started up, of course, with warming up. As you guys know, you must. It's imperative that you warm up before every session. And this session today was, well, wasn't one of my high rep session, though it may feel like it was. It was one of my more heavier styled session with a lot of reps in between. So I'm trying to get a balance between high reps, heavy weights, as well as my heavy days, low reps, as well as my really high rep days. It's good to have a mixture, especially when it comes to legs. Well, every body part really, but you know, I love mixing up on leg days. Your leg should be the strongest body part. So you know, if you could bench more than you could squat, then you're probably doing it wrong. So yeah, after warming up, pyramiding up to 180, I went into my first proper set here. Well, I did move up from 140 to 180. So I'd say the 140 set was my first proper set, but then I'd say my heavy set was this first set. And I would say this is where it proves important again. When I video some of my session to see my form, having watched this back, I'm not particularly happy. In my head, I was going a bit lower than this on the squat. Irregardless, I'm fairly happy. It's 90 degrees, and I'm really working the quads here. So, yeah, you hear people say, yeah, you must squat ass to grass. Well, I could tell you, you don't always have to do that, especially when you're doing some heavy ass weights like this, where, you know, you can't, it's even more difficult to do. Believe me, going 90 degrees will get you the strength and size in the quads that you need when you're doing weights of this magnitude. This set was slightly better, having recognized that my first set wasn't as low as I wanted it to be. I decided to really, get the depth a bit lower on this set. But believe me, it makes no difference because this was 2 days ago and I'm really feeling it in my quads today. So this sesh, again, was a brutal session. I did 4 sets of 180. As you guys know, I predominantly stick to what works, and it's generally every set you see me do or start, working set that is, it's always a minimum of 4 sets of anything between 10 and let's say 15 reps, minimum of 8 reps if minimum of 8 reps if the weight is particularly heavy. On my really heavy leg days, I probably do 5 reps, but that's very rare. I tend to keep my rep range between 10 and 15, 8 at a minimal. Now, obviously, I train for bodybuilding. I don't train for powerlifting, so hence why my rep range is what it is. I know there are people out there who do it differently, and of course, there are many ways to skin a cat. So, you know, I don't criticize anyone that do anything differently. This is just how I do it and how it works for me. And if you like what I do, you try it, and then I'm certain it will work for you as well. So, having done 4 sets of 180, I back down to 140. And the plan here was to do 15 rep sets on 140. I think I got the first set. By the second and third, the fatigue started kicking in a bit. So I believe I probably got 10 or maybe 8 even on the final set of 140, which is a back off set, I suppose. But you know, the fatigue should be you know, in your muscles should have been built up. The lactic acid should have been built up so much by the time you get to this set that you're really feeling it. So yeah, this back off set, if you want to call it that, was fairly brutal. Yeah, you can see me struggling here a bit. This wasn't easy. I believe this was set number 3 or 4. I don't generally record every single set, but believe me, it's always 4 sets or 4, sometimes 5 sets, depending on how I feel. But generally, as a rule for me, it's normally 4 sets of every exercise, even the back off exercise on squats. Having done 180 front squats, backing off to 140, I'm still sticking to that 4 rep, 4 set range, because no real science said, because I feel it works. It works. It really, over the years, many years of training, I've worked out what works for me. And listen, I believe if you guys try this as well, it will work for you. Then I moved on to stiff leg deadlifts here, hamstrings. What hit the hamstrings? I started off with 100. As you can see, I'm using the straps as I move up to 140. Now the straps are very, very important. Some people are, why are you using straps? You this, you that. Just believe me, guys, your back is stronger than your wrist. Your back is stronger than your wrist. So if you could strap up whilst hitting your hamstrings or your back on your back days, please do that, because you will get a lot more reps, or should find that you'd get more reps having used these straps. So get yourself some straps and use it for your hamstrings and back days, to really push the boat out on those exercises. Massively important for me. The minute I go over 100, I use the strap to help me, to aid my lifting. Now, the stiff leg deadlifts is a great exercise for hamstrings, as you know. The stretch and the feel in your hamstrings, like you guys know, I always advocate for training on feel. And you should really feel this working your hamstring. As you can see, it's called a stiff leg deadlift. My legs are slightly bent at the knee, so it's not straight, it's not locked out. I wouldn't say that you should do that. You want your knees slightly bent as you perform this exercise, not overly bent, but slightly bent as you reach forward, and as the weight drops a few centimeters below your knee, you execute the movement upwards. So as you can see me performing here, this is a great exercise for your glutes, your hamstrings, and building that power for when you start squatting. This is where sprinters have their power. It comes from the glutes and hamstrings, right? And this is where you generate power as well when you're squatting, the glutes and hamstrings. So it's imperative you have great or good or strong glutes and hamstrings. For me, for bodybuilding on stage, they say shows are won from the back. So it's imperative that I build my hamstrings to the max. And then I moved on to front squats. Today I didn't use a barbell. I decided to go with the dumbbells for these front squats. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of using dumbbells for front squats, but when you're fatigued, believe me, it really, really does work. It really does work. So yeah, I'd say most people, you see people doing this anyway. It's not an uncommon exercise, dumbbell front squats. But once you're fatigued, having done the amount of exercises I did so far, especially on the squats, this really, really does work, and you really do feel the burn. The weight wasn't particularly heavy. I'm more focusing here on doing just repping it out, quite frankly. And yeah, the burn and the feel and the sensation was real. Now you may see me mixing it up here slightly. So I went from hamstring back to quads. That's just something I do. I know generally sometimes you see people go they'd train quads and then they'd hit hamstrings at the end, or they'd train hamstring, then they'd hit quads at the end. Whichever way you decide to do it, that's up to you. You could mix it up like I'm doing here. So I went from quads to hamstrings to back to quads, and then I'd go back to hamstrings as well. So there's one exercise that I missed out as well, the line hamstring curls that I did on this day or 2 days ago when I trained, that I missed out. So yeah, that was added to the session. Unfortunately, it wasn't filmed, but yeah, was 3 sets on hamstrings is what I did. And I did good mornings here, or 4 sets on hamstrings. Good mornings. If you've got a hack squat at your gym, a hack squat machine at your gym, this is another great exercise for hamstrings. Right, another great exercise for your hamstrings. So yeah, make sure you get the technique. Maybe if you haven't done it before, of course, don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs, as they say. I don't know what that phrase actually means, but I think it's trying to teach you basics. I don't want to teach anyone basics, but this is a great exercise for your hamstrings. As you see me executing here, make sure you warm up sufficiently. Maybe if you haven't done it before, don't plate load the machine. Just go with the machine on its own, get the technique, get the feel for it. And if you feel like it's working your hamstrings, then utilize this as a great exercise for building your hamstrings. This one I do quite frequently. I feel like it works. Again, I feel it working my hamstrings, and so I keep it in my session. And this is another great one for your hamstrings. Now, again, you gotta get the technique with this. You can see me here using this bar to try and keep myself stable whilst doing the exercise. You could use a bar, you could go without the bar doing this exercise. Make sure your legs are locked in properly as well, and you're really you don't want to fall off whilst doing this exercise. You can see on the next one here, I decided to go without the bar and use the ground and the wall to prop myself back up. The real work is really in the downward movement of this exercise. It's not so much on the way back up, though you are working your hamstrings on the way back up. The video is a bit quicker, but the real work is in the downward movement. And that was it. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you on the next video. Much love. Take care. Peace.